the thing, the link that you had up and it says waiting. Uh, it's on now. Yep. Okay, so if I go live on mine, it's on now. I can hear myself talking on it. Can you see mine? Does it say that I'm live? Okay. Do you want to start your own Hangout thing then so I can join it so it's not showing all of my I don't know how to get like my whole list of contacts and all my conversations to disappear off of there. Everything. No. Um the Hangout. Can you open your own like start your own Google Hangouts thing like you usually do? Well, how do I get cuz I don't want to I'm sharing my screen on my own stream. How do I get my list of all my conversations to go away? Yeah. Yeah, I'm just because I'm just having a conversation with you. Yeah, hang on just a second. I'm gonna open up my own stream so I can check to see what it looks like real quick. That's good because
Do you still need this other one?
no, I'm live right now. Okay, yeah, that's better. It's showing. Oh goodness.
So it looks
Where's
like,
the conversation that we're having? I don't.
okay, so that window that you've got open right now that I can see on your stream, you just, well, I don't know if that's probably not real time. So that window you can close. The window that has the sparrow on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, close that window.
Oh, I see it now. Okay. I can actually close that and it won't ruin anything.
No, because the conversation that you and I are having is on a separate window.
Okay. All right. You still there?
Me? Yeah.
Okay.
Oops.
How do I put that? Can I put that tab up in the other like these three tabs here? Can I how do I put that back in there? I usually use Internet Explorer. See that's on a yeah. Can I throw that back up there? No, it just opens it. See on Explorer I can just throw it back up there in the line with all the other three. Whatever. Okay. It doesn't matter. Now I'm back on the tunnel of doom on my thing. Okay, it's good. I'm just gonna maximize this and roll from there. How about that? All right. I think everything's good. All right. I'm going to get these pictures. Yeah, yeah, I know. I opened. Hey, Isaiah, can you hear me? I don't know if anybody can hear or see. I know they can see my screen, but I don't know if they can hear me. If they can't, I'm just going to shut mine off and then see what it does. They can't hear anything. On your stream? So I wonder, they can see my screen, but they can't hear me. So I'm going to tell them to go over to yours. Yeah, they can't hear me.
Hello, hello, hello. What ho? Welcome back to another exciting adventure of The Plain Truth. I'm your host, Travis Finley, and I've got Eyes to See. Eyes to See. Hey, hey, hey. So we were trying to do a little shenanigan dance with multi-streaming, at least with both of our channels up. So yeah. Okay, let's see. Hello to Lumberjack, Derek, Mark Doxy, and Chris Berry. Shout out to Chris Berry for the music for my intro. I worked on a new intro yesterday with new still clips, Chris. So that's still the old one. All right, Danielle, just do a real quick mic check and let's hear back. Guys out in the audience, if you can hear Danielle, let me know. Go.
Mic check. Mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Infinity times infinity. Hello? Can anyone hear me?
Hey, Geocentric Sean, thanks for being here. Appreciate it. First time catching a stream. First time. Awesome. Thanks for being here.
Okay, Isaiah came over from my channel, so I'm ending my own. I'm shutting down the StreamYard.
Okay. We'll figure it out sometime.
All right. Now I'm all on you.
Okay, so again, guys, did you I'm gonna put my headphones in. Did you guys hear Danielle? I know that you say we hear you, but is that a plural you? Or is that a singular? She's a little low, but yes. She's a little low, but yes. Okay, I'm going to try to pull up her desktop volume and okay. All right. Well, Danielle, you wanted to do a hangout and talk about a troll that came your way. So if you want to let's see, why don't we, if you want to share your screen.
Yes, I'm going to do that after I get I want to read the comment. And so I'll let everybody stare at my mug for a second. Oh, goodness. So the person's name is Peter Poop. And he had lots of things to say. All right. So Peter Poop, at the end of his whole 4 paragraph rant, says, and they can hear me, right?
Yeah, I got confirmation, so.
Okay. Says, here's a problem for you. The flat Earth map, in quotes, that you show under the vase is the Gleason's AE projection. Gleason states that it is a projection of a globe. Obviously, we know that. We stationed an observer at the southern tip of South America, one at the southern tip of Africa, and one at the southern tip of Tasmania. They all, I'm assuming he means they, because there's lots of typos. They all stand facing a compass reading of 180 degrees, i.e., they all look due south. They all see the same stars at exactly the same time. How is that possible on your flat Earth? This is one of those.
Smack your face.
You should have had your V8, okay? First of all, not only is it not possible on a flat Earth, it's not possible on globe Earth either.
All right, so unpack that for us, Daniel. Why is it not possible?
Well, okay. I've got, let's see, let me get some pictures going on here.
You know what? I was trying to look up his address while you were talking on YouTube. How is his YouTube channel spelled? Because I put it in both ways with Peter Poop separated and Peter Poop together, and it didn't come up. So
I'm gonna paste a link to his channel in the chat. Okay.
Okay.
So everybody can see Peter Poop. All right. Well, if they're all facing south, they might see the same vague on a globe. They might see the same vague, area. Assuming whatever, how like we all facing north see Polaris, and then they have. I'm not sure like how. I'm trying to take Delirium and kind of pick it apart and lay it properly flat, and it's kind of frustrating to without the option to do that, to get sort of a center focal point for them. So what I did is I was looking at different observatories last night, and I found a little clip of one where in Tasmania, where they're watching the night sky, and you can see their camera rolling, and it's going around in a circle about one sort of kind of point. But it's not a perfect circle. It doesn't seem to rotate perfectly like we would expect around Polaris. You get that whole compilation of all the entire night of stars. But so anyway, from a globe perspective, they're not all right next to each other, so they're not going to be facing the same exact part of the sky. And even if they do have a central focal point, which I guess kind of they would, but let me show you the pictures that I got. On a flat Earth map, that's 180 degrees of separation, assuming the Gleason's map is anywhere near accurate, which I think it is pretty close. Let's see. My Google Drive is acting wonky, but so I'm just going to try to show the pictures. No, yeah, exactly. And oh, so should I not click share entire screen? Should I click share application window? How about this one? Let's see what happens here. Does that look better? Okay. So there's my Google Drive. My pictures. Okay. So this right here, assuming a globe, this would be the Antarctica. Right here is the bottom of South America. Right here is the bottom of, is that, what is going on with this picture? All right. I tried to center it to where you could see all three at the same time. Look how, that's just like mind blowing to me how close those are. I wonder if that's even accurate, what's going on in between there. So anyway, we have Africa, South America, and Tasmania. We've, look how, like, even that's still 180 degrees of separation between them on that. It's nuts. But let me close this. How do I get back? There we go. So I went to Stellarium, and I went to two different websites. I went to Stellarium and Time and Date. And here is the bottom of, how do you,
Where are we looking from?
this is the bottom of South America.
Okay.
I don't know how to say that, and I'm not gonna try it. Where's Jose when you need him? Right. Okay. So this is the view of the sky from South America. The very, like, I chose large cities, so I was hoping to find observatory locations that I could get confirmation from, and I did from the Tasmania. But so here's the crux thing. Kind of keep your, you know, mind on where that's located, a little to the right of the south pointy thing. And that's, and I got these all these shots within a couple, you know, a minute or two of each other, so they weren't spread out. And this is all live shots. So there's that one on Time and Date, the bottom of Chile, South America.
Okay, so what you're saying is that you went to these three different locations at the same time?
Same time.
Yeah.
Same, it was yesterday, exactly the same time. They're live views. And here's, so let's go back to this one. Oh, I didn't get the things. Well, I didn't get the constellation map on there. But okay, so there's the crux on that one. And then here's Cape Town at the bottom of Africa. It's all the way over here. Can you guys see my mouse moving? Or just when I pull up the picture?
I don't see the mouse right now.
Okay. Well, look to the way to the left of the pointer, the triangle at the bottom with the south on it. So that's obviously way different.
Well, yeah, you've got the, if you can, I don't know if you can open up, these are JPEGs, right?
These are loaded in my
Yeah, you should be able to open them up both and show them side by side, I would think. Like this one, right? So this was the first one from Chile.
Yeah.
And in your next one, everything is slid over to the left.
Yeah, way over to the left. Because
Yeah.
in Chile, it was like right here. The crux was over to the right. I wish you could see my mouse moving. And then
well, I do see it now. I did see it. It was off the image. It wasn't on the image.
So I'm going to go to Time and Date. And can you see my window changing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mark said he saw your cursor, so.
Okay. And here's where I was, down here. Why isn't it popping up now? Of course it's not popping up now.
Of course.
Of course. When I go on here, really? I have to get an external link to it. There we go. Okay. Now it's loading. Even right now, this is right now. Here's facing north, but he wanted south, so I'll scroll it back over to south. There's south. That's what they see right now in Punta Arenas, Chile.
Right. So then what we basically have is a virtual reality presentation of the constellations that are there, but they can't see them because it's daytime.
Right. So there's that city.
So that's not going to help us necessarily because it's not a night sky.
Well, you can see these constellations. I mean, you can see the location of them.
Right.
So there's south. There's that. So just keep, the crux thing isn't even on the Phoenix. I'll go to Cape Town. So here's the night sky in Cape Town. You can't even see that.
Yeah. Right. Right.
It's
Yeah.
right here. And from the view from the bottom of Chile is this Phoenix was over here. It's
Right.
not the same view. It's not the same view represented on a globe.
So okay, so hold on real quick. What I'm trying to remember now from what you said, right? Phoenix on Chile was I would if I'm going to divide the screen into thirds, I'm going to put the Phoenix to the right third.
Yeah,
okay,
it was there.
Okay, there you go. Right. So if you're moving farther east, and if you're going to go to Cape Town, Phoenix is going to continue moving off screen to the right. But where you showed it, it was at the left. Is that correct?
Well,
like
that's
right there, like right there. Move back a little bit real quick. Right. Oh, no. Okay, I see it. But when you first went to Cape Town, the Phoenix was to the left.
It was let's see. This is Cape Town, right? Yeah, this is Cape Town.
Okay, well that's still the same point, right? Stop, right there. Okay, so this is the view from Cape Town, right?
Right.
Okay, my point is that Phoenix should not be on the left. It should be off screen because Santiago or Chile is if you rotate another, I don't know how to say it. It's off screen. It's exit stage right. So this is completely.
Well, it's backwards because over here is east.
Oh, I see. That's weird.
It's flipped backwards.
Why? That's not helpful.
I don't. Of course, they don't want it to be helpful.
That is weird.
That is weird.
Okay, so go back to.
It's because they're on the bottom of a globe walking upside down.
That is absolutely
that?
counterintuitive.
Well, here's Hobart. Here's the third location. And do we even see Phoenix? You don't even see Phoenix at all. It wasn't even there.
Yeah.
Because that is all the way.
Well, there's Orion.
It's not even visible. None of these are the same.
Where is this? Where is this location?
This is Hobart, Tasmania.
Oh, okay, so this is Australia.
And these programs obviously are assuming a globe.
Yeah, I can't wrap my mind around the fact that this is a reverse image with west to the right and east to the left. That is counterintuitive in my opinion. Sorry, I'm not paying attention to the chat, everybody. Hi, Doc Michael, everybody out there. Thanks for being here. Yeah, just keep your conversation going out there. I'm trying to figure this out with EYES2SEE. So, yeah.
Well, imagine yourself standing at the bottom of Tasmania, the far south Hobart, and you're facing what should be the South Pole, according to them.
Okay.
To your left would be.
Okay. I got it. Yeah. So it's no different than. If you
turned around and face north, then east would be on your right.
So do Baltimore, Maryland.
Okay.
Because that'll help me. Because I'm going to be facing south, and so east is going to be to my left.
See, now there's east facing to the right.
Okay, so go south then.
But it's still, but this is facing south, so east would be on your.
Yeah.
I mean, and you're not that far from me. I'm gonna show you. So what's that right there? Crater up at the top.
Yeah, Crater, Antilla, Corvus.
Why did it do that? What is up with that?
If you, you know,
There we go. So here's.
if it lets you select the object that you're going to look for, you could put Crater in there, and then it'll tell you which direction to face. There it is, right there. Yep. It looks like you have a little bit more in your field of view, like the Canis
Yeah, and
Major.
this one right here was a little over to the right
Right.
for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. But so that's not an issue for us because
No,
we're
it's not.
so then what we're doing if we go down to Chile again, we're moving into the distance. We're moving farther and farther away, so we're going to get closer to other constellations that are distant from us that we can't see.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's interesting to think through that. That's kind of a
Just from our and they this is
abstract.
something that, is argued hard because considering a dome, you know, where the position of where the stars are above or below it, it's which I believe they're above it in water. Um, that's that makes their actual position look different than what we are seeing down here on the ground. Like looking into a glass of water with a straw in the water, it's cut in half and it looks like the straw's moved over. And I think it's probably the same with the stars. And so I don't think we can just it's not a cut and dry thing. We can't just say, "Oh, well, that looks wrong and so that must not be right." And everything is there's an attempt to oversimplify everything and it's
Well,
you
I
just
think that that's part of it too. It's an oversimplification of a mental construct. So should be, I suppose, we should be able to find real time or recorded real time evidence that people in Chile and Cape, what was that in South America and South Africa? What was the
Cape Town.
Cape Town and then Hobart? I don't see why it shouldn't be. Someone
I found
hasn't
this
already
one.
recorded this because otherwise it's just always rhetoric that you're going to be seeing the same constellations, and that's I think just based on the idea of that is what you think should happen. But at least when we got to Australia, we had a whole different set of constellations that we were looking at. Even though the Cape Town and the Chile one were adjusted just a bit in terms of moving farther east. So,
Of course, now that I'm on the stream with you, I can't even find.
yeah, that's no worries.
Okay, well, I'll just quit the screen sharing and yeah, but I mean, it took about 2 seconds. Not even 2 seconds. Like the second I read that, I was like, "Are you kidding, dude?" Like, it wouldn't be the same view on either model.
Yeah, yeah.
But people are gonna walk around and say things like this, and then other people are gonna be like, "Oh yeah, that's true," and they're not gonna go look it up.
Well, see again, the thing that each of us has to find their strong point, and that is, um, we need written documentation that addresses these issues. So I don't think that doing YouTube videos is worthless, but
No,
in terms of furthering the discussion that is going to bring it into the mainstream, we need to have written documents. You know, where we address arguments in a written form with good argumentation as well. So, talking about what you and I have talked about, facing three different geographical locations. Um, yeah, I mean, what you said in terms of when you looked at it and within a couple of seconds you understood the absurdity of the claim. Um, you know, it's almost like when you look at a 3D image and you have to cross your eyes to get
Mm-hmm.
the resolution of the 3D image.
Yeah.
Some people don't have to do that, right? Some people can look at it and just out somewhat refocus their eyes in a different way that they don't have to cross them the way that I might have to. And I think that that's the same way when we're talking about cognitive dissonance, that you could show, or rather, you could simply present an argument verbally so that they hear it and it doesn't click for them. But if it's written down, you know, with diagrams and showing that way, that might be the way that they see it more clearly. So that's what I'm saying to a certain extent, that we need people out there that are going to be addressing these issues in a essay form.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
all
I'm glad
right.
I got that book. Boy, I'm not even gonna like
What book is that?
get the title out of my brain. The Crushing Conceptualism in Modern Christianity. Um, Andrew Michael Denny. Like I got it in the mail a couple days ago, and it's. I was so excited because it's really thick. Like I feel like if it's this little like 50-page pamphlet looking thing, that it's not gonna. How is it gonna? But yeah, it's a big read, and he has all kinds of just flipping through the pages. I can see you know, diagrams and stuff of the earth, and it's that I think compilations like that need to be made.
What's the thesis of the book?
Here I'm gonna put a link to it. Okay, and the subtitle is "Exposing the Devil's Agenda Against God's Design," and that's where I come at the whole thing. Is just like people ask constantly, what's the point, and why would they do that, and that's why I think it goes beyond money and control and power. I think it goes beyond humanity. But
You
even if you
into
don't,
the spiritual realm you're talking?
yeah, it's a spiritual battle.
Okay. So again, what are the just can you just maybe give a couple of bullet points in terms of the concepts that he's addressing?
um yeah, here, if you click on the link there, you can see the back cover, but I'll read it. Heavy spirit of conceptualism has infiltrated the modern Christian establishments, our traditions, philosophies, theologies, etc. Everything our beliefs are built upon has been influenced by an elite, world class system. Have you ever felt like there has to be more to our placement in this world than going through the motions of Sunday morning ritual called church? And a truth movement has emerged, a remnant of modern ark builders, endeavors to awaken those who are still asleep. And if you watch the Fired for Truth channel, they're cooperating with each other. But
Yeah. So here, I mean, this is I
into the 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 spiritual reason flat Earth is hidden, and you know, and then he goes into detail on showing why it can't be a globe and stuff. Also, not just his Christian viewpoint on it.
okay. Say that I was busy bringing my screen over. Say that last thing that
You're
you just
totally
said.
not paying attention. I get it. No, he goes into actual reasons why it's not a globe. He shows evidence and diagrams and explanations and stuff.
Okay.
Like the stuff that we're doing is also in the book. It's not just a religious thing. It's not just a Christian thing.
Yeah. So the one thing that I find interesting in the discussion is that if we're talking about an elite world class system, we're talking about a division of humanity, and yet we have this qualification every day. We see evidence of what the Bible calls spiritual wickedness in high places.
Right.
So then I'm just wondering if he is making a crossover into a spiritual realm that is metaphysical, because personally, I think that it's not as I don't necessarily think that that categorization is correct. So that I would just stick with the elite world class system as a division of humanity, where you have those who secretly govern our world, right? So that's still a human based endeavor.
Right. The
Uh,
controllers.
huh?
The controllers.
Right, right. But that doesn't have anything to do with spiritual in terms of the metaphysical, like another dimension that we can't see. So,
Well, in my opinion, it does because who isn't driving them to do that and for what reason, and that's where it gets into the Luciferianism, like that elite class, they're Luciferian,
yeah,
and
yeah,
and
and
that's who's whispering in their ear, like whose ultimate goal is it driving this occurring.
yeah. So I don't know if you know anything about my story, but my first red pill my first rabbit hole, really that I went down, and I wouldn't necessarily call it that per se, because transformations in the way that we think, in terms of our paradigms and the way that we see the world or the way that we understand certain things, that's just a natural development of our psyche and our emotional, mental, and if you want to call it spiritual, that is just those things that we develop as people as we mature. I don't think that we can classify all of those as red pills and rabbit holes. But I grew up in mainstream Christian Baptist church, and went to college at a Bible college, and went to seminary and got my master's. And all along the way, I was making steps away from my heritage as a Baptist. And when I was at my at the church that I was at in just outside of Baltimore back in 2000, there was a guy in our congregation who uh, was promoting what is called preterism. I don't know if you've heard of that term, preterism.
No.
But in biblical interpretation, preterism comes from the Latin word uh, preter, which means past, P-A-S-T, past. So in Spanish, the past tense is called the preterite tense. It's the
Mm-hmm.
past tense. And so this guy was talking about how everything in the New Testament has been fulfilled. The second coming, all of the things that we think are still in our future has been fulfilled. And so we devoted a month of Sunday schools where we addressed these arguments and even let him present his position. And at the time, I was uh, responding to it the way a baller would in terms of coming across flat Earth. I was just like, this is absolutely ridiculous. Who in their right mind would actually think that Jesus has already come back and that we are in the new heavens and the new earth and blah, 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 right? Well, little did I know that the seed was planted in my mind, and I could not look at the Bible the same. I started noticing things. I started reading it differently, just naturally, just organically, and I started thinking to myself, this is a problem.
But do you not look at it as a double fulfillment though? Like a lot of things have even more than two fulfillments.
Well, that's what we're told, and I'll just say it that way. That's what we're told. That is, um, I don't have a problem with using the word indoctrination, because indoctrination begins with raising our children when we say thank you, Johnny. Say I'm
And
sorry,
I'm not.
Sally. You
I've
know.
actually had these. I've had the same struggle in my mind that you're describing. This isn't a new concept to me, and a lot of like the mud flood Tartarian thing, kind of brings that issue to the surface. But in my mind, I wonder if that's true and we're post 1,000 year reign, then does that mean we're in hell? Because this sucks.
No, no. Hell is a metaphysical concept that is not what the Bible teaches. The Bible's
So do you
concept.
think that we just need to die and then we're out of this hell?
That is the discussion that is another aspect of my continual growth. I find a really interesting dynamic in this discussion in terms of alchemy, and transformation of this of our physical world, where we even talk about growing plants and producing food and distilling spirits and alcohol and all of those things, that we transform this world, right? So the way Crow 777 says it is, there is no lie in nature, right? So if we see in nature a natural tendency to be transformed and to always be changing, why don't we think that about ourselves? I think that is the biggest lie that that we have been kept from. That is, that we do not understand or know how to alchemically transform ourselves, so that we, what's the word I'm looking for?
Ascend?
Yeah, yeah, ascension. That's a part of it, but I was thinking of transcend.
Yes.
So I think that that's all a part of it. So going back to hell, uh, the concept of hell is not, in my opinion, uh, taught in the Bible. The word that we normally translate as hell is Gehenna. Now,
Yeah.
Gehenna was a physical, geographical location in Israel, and it was used as a symbolic picture of judgment. So, when we're talking about what's happening in the New Testament, we need to understand that in that story, Israel's judgment is coming, right? So, one of the discussions that I bring up if I'm talking with someone about this, and I say, okay, look, I know that you're having cognitive dissonance. I know that a lot of this stuff isn't making sense to you. I know that you have some great questions. And all of the questions that people ask are the right questions to ask. But I'll say this. My question would be, when do you think the New Testament mentions or alludes to the idea of hell for the first time? Okay, so just let that sit in the back of your mind. Because one of the things that I remember being taught and instructed is that the Old Testament, we don't have a concept of hell, of eternal punishment after you die. It's not there, right? We talk about and we see death, we see the grave, right? Sheol, and how everyone goes down to the grave,
Right.
but we don't see any concept of eternal, conscious, metaphysical torment in another dimension.
So are you suggesting that the New Testament is incorrect?
No, I'm suggesting that the way that we've been instructed to look at the New Testament is incorrect, just like the way we've been instructed to look at our world through heliocentric lens is
So what about
incorrect.
like outer darkness? Like
Yeah, that's an expression that is a part of the judgment picture that we are given. So there are numerous metaphors in the New Testament for the judgment that comes. Being cast into outer darkness is just one of them. Okay,
right.
but it's
And the whole concept that we see in the English translation of the Bible of the idea of eternity and forever and eternal separation and stuff like those. A lot of those words don't really mean,
That's right.
original text. They don't mean
That's
forever
right.
and ever and ever.
Yep, that's right.
And
Yep.
this is actually things that I'm struggling with because you have like you. I was raised Pentecostal, actually, and then as a teenager, I was a Jehovah's Witness, and so that is like two really crazy ends of the spectrum. And but then I kind of adopted sort of more of a Baptist viewpoint after being an atheist and pantheist, and lots of crazy stuff happened. But I, right now where I'm at is I'm not. There's this little comfortable box that I can keep myself in, and that everyone in mainstream Christianity is in that little this the little the explanations that they have for themselves, of this is what the Bible means and this is what it's telling you is going to happen. But then if you look at world events that seem to be fulfilling prophecy, you look in the book of Daniel and it says that they will try to bring about the vision. So are they doing all these world events, these wars and everything? Is it all staged and fake to make it look like all of this
Yeah.
is happening, to make it look like that's the time we're in? And so that is a
Right.
real that's terrifying to me, because it's like, but then I think, well, God could just cause that to happen. That could be his. Yes, they'll try to bring about the vision, but maybe that was his plan anyway. It fits perfectly. But then I come across people like, I don't know if you've seen the YouTube channel Good God, where he explains, and this is going to set people off. And I'm not saying I believe this. I'm going to add the word yet or follow it, but I am giving a really open look to it, that Yahweh or Jehovah or whatever you want to call him in the Old Testament is actually Satan. And Jesus, when he came, and I'm not prescribing to it. I'm just, but
Yeah, you don't have to make any qualifications for me. I don't need that, and I know the audience out there is loose enough. You're not going to offend anybody, so just feel free to speak your mind.
okay. And I, I don't, I don't know, but I want to know if that's the case. But it's like, if you look at Jesus, when he in the New Testament, he's like, if you want to see God, look at me. This is him. Like, you want to know what God's like. Well, look here. Here I am. God, Jesus didn't go around smiting people. He didn't tell people to go kill whole towns full of babies and rape women and bash their children to pieces. He forgave everyone and told them to go on their way and try a little harder. And his number one thing, his whole thing, was love each other. Treat everyone with love. Everything you do it with love. If you do that, then you're not going to be doing anything crappy to anybody anyway. If you go to the Old Testament, and another point this person brings up, and I think he has a website too, it's Good God. It's two separate words if you want to see what I'm talking about. If not, okay. But that there's a veil, and Paul says this, there's a veil over the Old Testament, even for people who believe it, and there's a veil over Moses, and that and what that means is, to him, is that there is a really big confusion over when it says the Lord did this and the Lord said this, over which part of that, like, some of that is God and some of it is Satan, but we don't know. And that's where he brings in the rightly dividing. You have to try to divide that. And that really puts things into perspective on what God is actually like, because up until just recently, I've struggled my whole life thinking, how can I have a personal relationship and let myself, or cause myself, to love God when I'm looking at villages of babies being destroyed? And but then on the other hand, it's like, I'm not God. I cannot even begin to comprehend his way of thinking. So, and it is insulting and shameful for me to even consider that I can. So it's like this is like what's in my mind all the time. It's like this battle of, where do you go with this? And is this a deception? And so, yeah, like the whole metaphysical stuff, and the alchemy. And I think then going back and looking at the Book of Enoch, where it tells which angels taught which things to humans. I always kind of try to tell myself, like, yes, the alchemy stuff, there's something to that. Even the way, the breastplates, with the different stones, for the
Tracks.
going into the temple and going into the holy of holies. And that's something, that fits into that type of thing. There's a reason for those certain stones in those in that order, all of those little
Yeah.
details.
Yep. Yep.
I don't think it's just pointing. I don't think it's just little clues pointing to Jesus. I think there's actually something else to that. But then at the same time, I wonder if it's not for us to know that, because if in Enoch, and I do think that the Enoch is right, the Book of Enoch, um, outside of the Gnostic interpretations of it, um, that they came down and taught humans some of these things. If it says that they taught them in a context of being bad, then maybe, we're just not supposed to know those things right now. And so looking into all that stuff, to me sometimes it feels like I'm doing something wrong or new agey, and I'm inviting something bad. So I'm this I know I went on about this forever, but this is
No,
a
that's
struggle.
okay. That's all
This
right.
is a struggle for me. It's really hard to decipher what's acceptable,
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of points that you brought up that are a vital aspect of this discussion. The first thing I think that I would like to say is that I hope that I can encourage you to feel the liberation of um, being able to wrestle with understanding, right? Not saying that you're going to know and understand everything, but I do believe that that our search for understanding is a good thing, and I don't think that it's realistic to say that we're not going to question or doubt or consider other viewpoints in order to help us process where we're at and where we see ourselves going. Let me see if I can go back and say something. I do think that the powers that be have hijacked the story of the New Testament and the Bible as a whole, um, and and that has pretty much dominated the mainstream Christian and Catholic narrative in terms of hell
Mm-hmm.
and the second coming and all of those kinds of things. Um, so I do believe that the story that the Bible gives us from Genesis to Revelation is an historical story. That is, the story began, um, and the story was brought to a close. It's almost like if you were to take, say, the Fellowship of the Ring or the Harry Potter series, and you would have three quarters of the narrative, but you wouldn't have the end of it. So you wouldn't know the Deathly Hallows. You wouldn't know how it ended. You wouldn't know the Return of the King, right? You wouldn't
Are
have
you
the
a Harry
end.
Potter fan?
Um, but what we need to understand is that the story that began in Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, all the way through Malachi, that story was brought to its conclusion in the New Testament story. And that story as a story ended with the destruction of Jerusalem in AD 70, because that's what the entire New Testament is about. So when people talk about, as you did, that Jesus comes along and he's meek and mild and he's not violent. He doesn't talk about destroying and whatnot. He says just to love each other. That's only a part of that reality because he's not talking to the entire world. He's
Right.
talk
Yeah. Came to talk to the Jews.
he's talking to Israel. So he's talking to them about how they treat each other in the story that they belong to. Now, just think about this. What I asked before, if I were talking with a Christian and said, um, when do you think the New Testament mentions hell for the first time? Right. So think about what you said in terms of Jesus not being very violent. Hell is a place of violence. I mean,
Yeah.
it's eternal punishment that includes, in certain people's minds, babies, right? Babies get sent
Right.
to hell because of sin nature and all those kinds of things. But
Yeah,
the
that's
one,
insane. That's insane to
well,
me.
yeah, but see, you the cognitive dissonance that you might have in that in saying that's insane. Well, the the Calvinistic tradition has a way of defending that and explaining that so that it's not insane. But my point is that the entire New Testament is a warning to Israel to escape the judgment that's coming at the end of the 40-year period after which Jesus spoke, because he's speaking to the generation, he's speaking to that group of people, and he gives them a time marker of judgment. He says, you guys are going to be judged. And if you read Paul, if you read John, if you read Peter, they are all talking about an imminent act of judgment that's going to be coming on Israel. And the way you avoid that is by taking sides with Jesus. If you don't take sides with Jesus, when he comes to bring judgment through the Romans, you're going to find yourself on the wrong end of the stick. So there is an aspect in which Jesus is violent, and he does promise violence, because the whole book of Revelation is about a war that Jesus leads. And who is he leading it against? He's leading it against the rebels of Israel. Those people who said, we are not going to leave the past behind and move into the future that you're bringing, the kingdom, right? Jesus brings the kingdom. There were Pharisees that did not want what Jesus was selling. And that's where, remember when John the Baptist is baptizing people in the Jordan?
Yeah.
Okay. So the Pharisees and the scribes come to see what John is doing, and he yells up to them, who has warned you to flee from the wrath that is coming? Right? So John mentions a coming wrath, and he's talking to the Pharisees and the scribes, and he said, who told you to flee from the coming wrath?
Mm-hmm.
Now, most people think that that's talking about hell, because they don't think that the wrath that John is talking about was historical. Okay. Anyway, it's a big discussion, but
It is. And a lot of this makes me wonder about the book of Revelation. Like, is it just the way it's written and worded? It sounds really Freemasonic to me, you know?
no, that's the hijacking. That's the hijacking. Okay, so let me go back to a point that you brought up. Um, in my opinion, Satan is not a spiritual being. He's not an entity. He's not an individual. Satan is simply a noun. It's a word. It means adversary.
Yeah.
Okay, the entire Old Testament is a book of jurisprudence. It's a book of the practical application of law. And in a courtroom, if you have a prosecuting attorney, he's your Satan. He's your adversary because he's bringing charges against you.
Right.
Right? So adversary.
And he's in heaven accusing constantly.
Well, okay, so when you say he's in heaven, who is the he, and what do you mean by heaven?
Satan's approaching God, accusing us all day long. But
Okay.
Jesus came to free us from our sin.
Okay. Again, though, when you say Satan, what are you talking about? Like who are you talking about?
The
Right.
actual angel Satan.
Okay.
When
So
I mean, that's what it seems like the Bible is saying.
yeah, it's if I think about it, I'll try to send you a link for a pretty good book that discusses the spiritual nature of the Bible's idea of Satan and angels. Um, Again, I don't take the view that there are angels.
Really?
Yeah, the word that is translated angel in the Old Testament is malak, Malak, and it means messenger. That's all it means. Okay? It's a messenger. And the prophets were messengers. The prophets were angels. They were messengers. So what we have is a conflation of a metaphysical idea of a spiritual being or spiritual beings that exist in another paranormal realm. But the words themselves simply mean messenger. So the word angel in the New Testament Greek is the word for messenger.
It's
So
11:11.
what's that?
It's 11:11.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I need to wrap it up. But so let me just finish up with this in terms of angel. So when the word angel in Greek is angelos, angelos. So you can hear the English transliteration angel, angelos, right? So I don't know why. Well, I suppose I do because we have an idea that angel means a spiritual messenger. So in the Greek, whenever we see the word angel, we should simply understand it means messenger, and it could be human. Very,
Right.
very often, I think it is predominantly
So
human.
what about the angels coming down and mating with humans? That's a separation of angel and human to me.
Well, but see, you have that begs the question, right? You're assuming it's talking about spiritual beings because the word doesn't mean spiritual being; it means messenger, right?
So
So
messengers came down and mated with humans, but if they weren't supposed to, then does that doesn't that sound like they're not human?
okay, so if you think about the story of Israel, Israel was called out to be separate from the other nations, right?
Right.
Okay. So in Genesis chapter 6, you have the sons of God, which is a designation for Israel. Israel was known as God's son. Okay, we have to keep that uh, part of the story uniform. All right. So if we have sons of God, if it's true that Israel was known as God's son, and if it's true that then individual Israelites are sons of God, and the daughters of men simply refer to women who are not a part of Israel. One of the things that we see the prophets bringing warning to Israel is you have married outside of the parameters that God has given to you. So if we look at
What
it
about the
from,
giants then?
I'm sorry.
What about the giants then?
Yeah, I get it. There's the Nephilim. I suppose a part of that discussion, and I haven't gone. I mean, this is this is just another book on the shelf to be read. I guess the way that I would say it is that the concept of what we're told is meant by giants might very well be true in history. I don't think the Bible's story is highlighting the same idea. So, for instance, Noah's flood and the ark, right?
Right.
I think the Bible is using that story as a part of its story to communicate the coming judgment at the end of Israel's history, which is why when Jesus is giving his Olivet discourse in Matthew 24, he refers to Noah because he's talking about that coming judgment where the floodwaters are going to wipe out the wicked. And we actually have that allusion in Matthew chapter 7 where Jesus says, whoever listens to my word builds his house on the rock, and when the flood comes, he will not be washed away, right? So Jesus is alluding to a flood of judgment. So again, we're touching on so many different threads that we could go down. But basically, to wrap up your question about the giants, I don't think that the point of the giants in Genesis chapter 6 is to talk about abnormally sized people with superhuman strength or whatnot. I think that we have to take it into consideration with the whole of the narrative, and primarily the whole of the narrative deals with God's calling Israel out to be a particular people for himself to bring about a dynamic change in the world. And we see that happening in the New Testament with Jesus and the kingdom and whatnot. But
So what do you think the point is right now then? Like, what are people supposed to be doing right now?
learning how to transform and ascend.
Are you waiting for that rainbow cloud to come from outer space and send us into the fourth dimension of being?
No, I mean that's all a part. I mean I don't know. That's the stuff that I don't know. But I do think that transformation and ascension are a part of our nature, and we have to understand that. The whole third eye, the whole pineal gland, all of that stuff that I haven't been taught and don't know enough about. I think that is a part of the stuff that's been hidden from us in terms of who we are and how we are to be developing. So.
Yeah, and I wasn't trying to mock you there. I was
Oh
I
no,
was
I didn't take it that way.
I used to watch David Wilcock a lot. I've told you that, and Laura Eisenhower and all that stuff. And so like in the hypnotherapists doing hypnotism sessions, talking about their all of their patients describing the same this and that, and the aliens creating the bubble around the planet to keep that wave from coming because people can't handle it yet, and all the Christians will be taken up in spaceships because they'll hinder everyone else's progress, and just it goes on and on and on. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's
the only thing that I would say is that the Bible doesn't say anything about that. That's not what the Bible is about.
right.
The Bible's not about escaping this world within a spaceship. So if you wanna push that narrative, go ahead, but don't use the Bible because the Bible was about a particular people in a particular time, and that story is over.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're not using the Bible to push that.
No,
They're
okay,
saying that the Bible is anti-progress.
okay. All
Yeah.
right. Well, hey, it is 11:17, and the beginning of our stream was about considering looking at the celestial sky from the three different geographical locations, and I think we touched on that enough. I think that I don't
Yeah.
think obviously we still need to have more work done. I think that we really do need to present that in a more professional and research matter.
Right. And
So.
if any of those live star maps are accurate, which I mean, I think they are pretty accurate because I can go look at them and compare them to my own sky at night. I think that was pretty cut and dry that that person was wrong. Peter Poop, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so everybody out there, you go troll Peter Poop. I went on and watched one of his. He did a curve calculator debunk, and I made a comment on there. So make sure you go visit his channel and troll his comments if you are of that mindset to be a troll. By all means.
Troll the trolls.
Okay,
I,
everybody, thanks so much for hanging out with us. Danielle, thanks for hanging out, and yeah, anytime I'm live and we can look at footage or discuss something, uh, yeah, let's do it.
thanks for giving me your stream time today.
Sure. Yeah, no problem. No problem. All
Awesome.
right, everybody, this is The Plain Truth. I'm your host, Travis Finley. Until next time. And it's, wait for it. I gotta find the stupid window to shut down the stream. There we go. Bye.